But once you program those right talk tracks, like it doesn't forget, no matter how busy it gets, no matter how many leads it's processing during the course of a day, it's never having a bad day, right? It's never forgetting. And so when you make that initial effort to train and optimize the way certain questions are answered, it's going to do it 100% of the time, every time, which like a human just can't do.
Hey, what's going on, Automotive Nation? I am Jason Harris, and today I get to talk about anything and everything I want to talk about when it comes to NIADA, which is coming up this month in June. But right now, I have one of the coolest dudes, like a couple of the coolest dudes I know, like in the business. All right. They paid me to say that. I'm just kidding. I have Billy and Ross with me from Podium. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Good. Doing great.
Hey guys, I am so excited that we get to hang out with each other at NIADA. It is an amazing event. I love speaking to independent dealers, and I am so glad that you guys have decided to kind of commit a portion of your technology just to the independent dealers. I think a lot of vendors in this space don't do that. You know, they go to build something for the big franchise world, and then they just kind of forget about the independents, or they're kind of like, hey, this could possibly work. But the fact that you guys are focusing specifically on independent dealers, I think is absolutely amazing. So let's kick off the podcast real quick on just, what's going on at NIADA. All right. And what can independent dealers kind of expect if they swing by the booth to visit you guys? Billy, I'll start with you, and Ross, I'll have you add to it as well.
Yeah. Well, look, Ross and I will both be there. We'll also have a few other folks that you can talk to. End of the day, we want to make sure we make ourselves available so that as you're trying to figure out does some of this AI stuff make sense for you, we can quickly give you a sense where it helps thousands and thousands of other independent dealers and where it likely makes sense for you guys too. What else would you add, Ross?
Yeah, I think just to add a couple thoughts. So yeah, super excited to be there. I have time on Tuesday the 24th, kind of kicking off the day. So 10 a.m. I will be running a speaking session that'll primarily be centered around AI, and where we're seeing a lot of leverage and opportunity there in the independent space. Maybe just to be clear on a couple things. Billy does run our sales team that is solely focused on independent automotive. So yes, it's a driving focus for us, Jason. We've seen really strong engagement and adoption and just opportunity to support folks operationally speaking here over the past 6 to 8 months, as we've been really focused on the opportunity with AI in the independent market. So yeah, we'll be at the booth. Love to have conversations. Folks are interested in learning more about Podium. That's obviously what we are there to do. And then we'll be running again on Tuesday morning a session just really centered around the opportunity for AI in the independent space. And we'll also just be there to have a really darn good time. So that's what we are there to do. Okay.
So, okay, it's Tuesday at which time did you say?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. So I can be front and center. So I can be a little fanboy. Is that okay, Ross?
As long as you don't do anything weird, absolutely. Yes.
There's a good possibility that will happen. But no, look, guys, like Podium, for everybody out there watching and listening, you guys know my story. You know I owned a Mitsubishi dealership, all right, which literally straddles the line between the franchise world and the independent world. A good Mitsubishi dealership is a used car dealership with a flag out front. And there are a lot of similarities to the way that we kind of operated. We operated with smaller teams, right? Like we didn't have a 50, 60 person team, and we didn't have a dedicated business development team and a dedicated internet department and a dedicated finance department. Dude, a lot of us were just wearing multiple hats, I mean, in fact, it got to the point where I actually didn't even employ salespeople. I just employed managers. That way I can make them do like 4 different positions. Did I just say that out loud? Because that doesn't happen in the independent world at all, right? Like it does. But I think there are a handful of things, and I want to talk to you guys about these today. A handful of things that I think really make Podium just a perfect match for that independent dealer out there. And I think the first and probably one of the most important one is just missed leads. Look, I know as an independent dealer, with relatively, large used car inventory, I'm getting a lot of leads. And it's not like it is in the franchise world where it's like, hey, if they're asking about a new F-150, it's like, does it come in blue? Does it come in gray? Does it have a sunroof? That's the extent of it, right? But no, if I got 150 cars on my lot, right, each one of those cars have a different story. So, trying to communicate that, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of work. But that's where I want to start off, guys, is, how does Podium help independent dealers in kind of maintaining that no lead left behind mentality? Billy, I'll start with you, and then Ross, I'll have you add to it.
Yeah, I'd say there's two things in particular that comes up a lot as we're chatting with folks. First is especially these website leads or third party leads, folks messaging it the first time. There's a study that MIT did, and the data that we have supports it 100%. The chance of a lead dying if it's not answered within 5 minutes, it's like over 80%. It's terrible. And that number jumps up to like over 95% if it takes more than 10 minutes to answer. And so if you want to have your best shot of closing a deal, it just means that you got to answer that lead. And love it or hate it, that's the world we live in, right? We're all spoiled by Amazon, or our attention span has been killed by TikTok, whatever it might be, right? And what only compounds this and makes it worse is the majority of the leads that come in are coming in after hours for the same reason that I got a job, you got a job, you got kids, you got other responsibilities. By the time folks are shopping around on your website, on Car Gurus, on Auto Trader, whatever it might be, it's 9 p.m. They're in their bed, they're on their phone. Mm-hmm. And then they just start hitting, 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles that they might be interested in, just kind of testing the water, seeing what's out there. That kind of brings me to point number 2. And you said it, like, what's the story about this vehicle in particular? One of the things that comes up a lot is that, they might message in, and what's so great about AI, or we call our AI employee Jerry. I'll refer to him as Jerry. You could name him or her whatever you want. But Jerry will answer, within a minute. And even within that minute, folks will say, wait, remind me what vehicle this was? Sorry, I've been looking at a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And to your point, especially when you're looking for a used vehicle, being able to tell that story, or having Jerry be able to tell that story, which is, yeah, it has leather. Oh, you're looking for, this type of mileage. Oh, you're looking for this type of cost. And for him to be able to quickly speak to what folks are looking for, and if it's not checking all the boxes, making other recommendations, regardless if it's 12 noon or 12 midnight, that's what we've seen just push these leads through to where we're selling more cars.
And I just want to add something to that real quick, because the fact that you said that Jerry will actually recommend other cars. Guys, if you're out there watching and listening to this right now, just think about this for a second, because I can't tell you how many dealers I have audited where I have sent an inquiry in about a vehicle and the response was this simple: it's been sold. Wah, wah, wah. Like, that's it. No other, like, hey, we have these other trucks, or hey, we have these other SUVs, or what was, anyways, just that one thing. If I could have gotten my entire sales team to consistently execute on that one thing, I can't imagine how many more people would have come in. And guys, look, I was an independent dealer. I actually specialized in minivans. I had over 60 minivans on my lot. So there was no way in hell you weren't going to show up to my dealership and drive away without a minivan, right? But I saw a lead come in and the guy said, oh, that one already been sold. I got 59 other ones. Why didn't you bring it up? Anyways, I digress. Ross, I know you want to add to this, the whole, no lead left behind, how important that is to independent dealers.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've been in a competitive market. We're still in a competitive market that's just kind of gotten almost weird in the past 60 days. Right. And I won't go too deep into that, but like, we're interesting times. But my point is we're still in a competitive market. Right. And I think Billy hit on a lot of the points, but the opportunity is, hey, simply put this, like, you're running a thin operation, right? Every dollar matters. You're spending a lot of money on leads. You got to have the right amount of headcount, which typically isn't a whole heck of a lot for an independent dealer. And so how do you layer on this conversation of like, hey, get to your leads as quickly as possible, because if you don't, you're going to lose them potentially in the first 5 or 10 minutes. And so I think the opportunity that presents itself is for these AI solutions to help really drive and add operational efficiency, and making sure you've got a backstop to connect with everybody no matter what hour of the day it is. And maybe you're really great about lead follow-up. There's certainly a spectrum there in terms of like the quality of what you're able to do versus maybe some of your competitors. AI is sort of a great kind of equalizer for you that helps you operate like you've got 20 people, even though you've only got 5. And so maybe those are the only thoughts that I would add. We're not necessarily here making some big statement of, AI is going to replace you all, or you don't need to have someone responsible for internet leads. Yeah, you sure do. But the opportunity that exists is really to help level up the game that those folks are playing, and give them a real tool that can give them, to a degree, some superpowers that they may not have had before, especially again when you're running a lean operation. And so I think that's where we've seen an impact. Even just thinking about things like, hey, you get a lot of calls during the day. Wouldn't it be great if you never missed another call, because AI was there to help answer that call, right? Like this is where we're headed. So I'll stop there, but that's all I'd really add.
No, but you're 100% right. I mean, that ability to do more with the team that I have, that changes the game. And that fundamentally changes the game. And look, guys, I operated a small dealership, right? And everybody was having to work all the time, either running things through financing, having to do deliveries, having to deal with new customers coming in, but also customers coming in through the internet. Like there's just a lot going on. And for that ability to be able to almost kind of like expand my team without necessarily having to go hire a bunch of new people, it really is something, right? And that actually kind of goes into our next topic. And I'm going to jump over because I want to talk a little bit about inconsistent communication with customers. And look, this was as a used car dealer, this was one of my biggest struggles, right? I would have, a couple of people that were working for me that were, I'm going to call them just A players, right? Like these guys they were great. They were phenomenal. All right. But I try to clone them. There's some legalities around cloning people. I don't know why. But like I couldn't do it. I couldn't get the rest of the team to execute the same level. And again, I see how Podium can help with it. I want to dive a little bit into that in how Podium helps independent dealers in making their communications more consistent with their customers. Billy, I'll start with you, and then Ross, I'll come back to you. How does Podium help dealers that way?
Let me give you two. I think the first part, that whole like, I wish we could clone, the good ones.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a number of dealers I've worked with, and we'll send them a message or a text after so many days, like, "Hey, how's everything going? Just checking in." And one of the pretty frequent texts I'll get back with, "I know you talked about it, but I can't believe how like spot on these answers are. This is what we wish everyone would do." And we've heard that get to the point where we have dealerships that are using Jerry's responses to train new folks that they bring in. Isn't that wild?
That's cool.
And I think a big piece of it is the way that you can train Jerry. And so, and a couple of things here. I think it can feel intimidating to hear, wait, this isn't just an off-the-shelf type thing. Like, well, it's probably 70% of the way there, but there's intentionally a bit of a gap, and that gap is meant to work together so that you can customize, how does Jerry respond to this? How does Jerry respond to that? What are the policies? What are as an example, how much do you need to put down for a car? Is it $500, $1,000? It's those types of things. But it's, you can speak to, do we ship cars over state lines? Do we want to do test drives? What hours do we do test drives? So all those things that make you can be included and done in a way that's full of prompt responses, empathy, understanding, recommendations, and still pushing for that next step, for that test drive or whatever else. So that's the first piece. I think the second piece is where Podium can help a ton, is just the visibility into the day-to-day, right? So, Jerry can help make sure that these leads are being responded to, and then, when your top sales guy or your bottom sales guy gets to that message, they can take over and they can start having a conversation. They can reassign Jerry and have him kind of step back in. But as a manager, being able to understand, are my folks doing what I need them to do, so that all texts, all calls, all messages just live within one spot for two reasons. One, when you got that knucklehead, you can say, hey, this is where you're missing. Here's what we need you to do. And then two, you can point to what your rock stars are doing. So look, he's doing it. You can do this. Come on, man. Like, we got this. And you can see the whole picture and then continue to coach and bring your team along.
Well, you know what? I've actually seen a couple examples how this plays out as well, right? Let's just talk about conversations around credit. Guys, if you're out there watching, listening right now, I'm going to tell you right now, Podium does a better job of handling the conversation around credit than I will say 70% of your sales team. I'm sorry, that sounds bad, but it's just true. I've watched it. I've played with it. You guys should definitely go to the website and play with it as well. Find out, and it handles that conversation incredibly well. And I know as an independent dealer how incredibly important it is to consistently execute the conversation around credit, because that will make and break how many people are ultimately going to come into my dealership. And Billy, you mentioned something about the customization. I was actually in Atlanta with Noah, one of your guys' reps. Super cool guy. Loved him. And we were talking to one of your guys' dealers. And they ship cars like across the country, which is great. I've never seen a dealership with more cream puffs. Like, I'm talking just like, I mean, seriously, cream puffs, like cars with just all the right features, really low mileage. I mean, I don't even know how they source these, but these guys had over like 100 cream puffs just sitting on his lot. So I can understand why they were shipping them across the country, because they were just, I mean, every car was just a total cream puff. And we were able to program Jerry to actually answer, because there was just a small calculation about how much it costs to ship a car from, there to Alabama or there to Florida or there to so-and-so. And it was cool. You guys were able to customize that for them. I think that's awesome. Anyways, I'll digress and I'll let Ross, kind of, hey, Ross, from your perspective, and I know you're going to be talking about this in your presentation. So, how does Podium kind of also assist in that inconsistent communications with customers for independent dealers?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of it's what's already been said and what you all have covered, that from human to human, it's really hard to train to get everyone to speak the same language, even if these are like things that feel obvious. And that's not to discredit anybody on your team or say that they're bad. It's just that there's a lot coming at them, right? And our brains aren't always functioning necessarily at 110%, and we're not always giving the right answer, even though we intend to. And I think the opportunity that we were just talking through is like, hey, how do I train this thing one time, right? And to Billy's point, it does take some training, which is a good thing, because you want it to answer questions to your specifications or have the right talk tracks. But once you program those right talk tracks, like, it doesn't forget, no matter how busy it gets, no matter how many leads it's processing during the course of a day, it's never having a bad day, right? It's never forgetting. And so when you make that initial effort to train and optimize the way certain questions are answered, it's going to do it 100% of the time, every time, which like a human just can't do. Now, humans are really great at lots of other things, but we're not always the best at being 100% consistent, right? And so I think that's where there's opportunity. And I think to Billy's point, what we do see a lot of the time is, sure, AI can answer the questions on your behalf and it can run a conversation end to end, but it's also a really great tool to craft pre-made responses, right? Or to just generate ideas of like, how could I answer this question maybe in a different or better way than I'm used to? And so there's also, I think, huge opportunity there. Maybe call it training. I guess what it really is, though, is just, it's an idea generator that can help people answer questions again consistently, because you've programmed it to do so, but also a way to sort of spark some new ideas or answer questions in a better way than maybe you have been. So from that perspective, it for sure can help sort of save time and level up the quality of engagement from your people. So yeah, I'd stop there, but that's how I'd answer that question.
But no, I'm with you, right? And I think one of the biggest things, I think, if you're out there watching, listening right now, is Podium's approach to the conversation is very linear. Okay. Here's the thing. And you guys all know, if you're operators out there, you know that there are mountains and valleys all through the sales process, right? From the moment that they inquire to the moment they come in, and then we got to go to the negotiations, and then we're back over to I've bought, and then we're into financing, and then we're back down to delivery. There's a lot of ups and downs. What I love about Jerry is that conversation stays in that one place the entire time. So from the moment that lead comes in and we start chatting via text message, which, by the way, if you're not chatting, we haven't mentioned this, but if you're not using SMS in your operations, oh, geez, you are missing out on monster opportunities, right? But be able to keep that conversation from the single point that they say hello to the point that the vehicle is gone and it's delivered, right? And everything from, talking about coming into the dealership, then, talking about financing, and then getting a delivery, and then even from an F&I perspective afterwards. You're right. You mentioned something, and Ross, and I wanted to bring it up because you have that ability to build campaigns within Podium, right? Look, independent dealers, you guys know how important F&I is. All right. We all know how important F&I is. All right. And we know that we've put our best individual, our A player, into that box. But I hate the fact we called it a box, but whatever. We put them into that box. All right. But we give them one kick at the can. Gary can actually continue that conversation even after the vehicle is delivered. And there's not a dealer in the world out there that's watching, listening, that don't agree with me that is a good idea. But good ideas are only as good as how well you can execute them. Hence the reason why you got to have Jerry, because Jerry can execute cool shit like this. Anyways, you guys know I get excited about Jerry. So I'll back up. I do want to get into our third one real quick, because I think this, again, is so incredibly important for independent dealers. I want to talk a little bit about poor online reputation and just low review volume. Guys, look, I had the same problem. Okay, I had this exact same problem before I started working with Podium. I had reviews. Don't get me wrong. I had reviews. I had reviews from the people I didn't necessarily want to be putting reviews up there. Okay, like, you think about that, right? For the most part, unless you ask consistently, that's what you get. But you guys have cool ways of kind of approaching kind of the people, the process, and the technology of improving that online reputation. Billy, I'm going to start with you, and then Ross, I'll have you add kind of what you'll be talking about during your talk on Tuesday. Billy?
Yeah, I'd say a few things on this. Number one, and you kind of nailed this. If you don't have a plan to go after reviews, and we see this all the time. Number one, you're not capturing as many as you should. I mean, I'll talk to folks that have had a dealership open for 5 or 10 years. We don't even have 100 reviews. I mean, looks like they've maybe been open, 5 months.
Few months, yeah.
Yeah, and so basically, they're just not getting credit for who they really are. On the flip side, you have folks that are pretty new and can look great online just because they're making sure every time a car is sold or a service RO is closed, that they're asking people for those reviews. And again, who's going to leave a review regardless? Well, it's the trolls, right? It's the tire kickers. It's the folks that just are raging with piss and vinegar. They're going to find you.
Yep.
And the way Google set it up, right or wrong, is there's no taking those off. And so you just got to bury it with the good, right? What we find is the folks that blend an in-person and an automated touch are the ones that capture the most reviews. So for example, when you're sitting down and going through, the F&I portion of the deal, or even, before, as you're doing paperwork, to have your team ask, hey, can I send you a text message where it has a link in it so you can leave a review?
Good time.
It means the world to us. Just being able to do that easily from your phone with like 2 clicks. You can look on the Podium app on the iOS app store. I think it's got like 27,000 reviews. It's like 4.8 stars. It's really easy to use. Makes it great. That's your first attempt to get it. If for some reason that gets skipped, or maybe they got their phone in the cart, whatever it might be, we can program it, Jerry, to basically send out a message saying, hey, would you mind leaving a review for us, right? And then maybe if that's an hour later, maybe they're busy, we'll have one more follow-up, usually the day after, saying, hey, just reaching out one more time, we'd love it if you leave a review for us. And we found that 3 attempt approach is what just helps grow this, where you're not catching or caption a review here and there, but we're talking 30, 40, 50% of the time you're getting reviews versus you're just getting the one or two people a month that got mad at you and they're bugged that their credit terrible and they're gonna take it out on you just because again they're full of rage and hate or whatever else.
Look, there are definitely some deals that I have done that literally with almost minutes of me signing off on the contract, just going, oh God, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Like, I know, sometimes you just know, right? It's unfortunate, but it does happen. But then I will say that's, you're right. You made a comment that the reviews doesn't always, what's online, the reviews that are online doesn't necessarily always represent what the business actually is. And if you're out there and you don't have a strategy for this, it is what it is. You got to understand, your brand is perception, and perception can be intentional. So if you're not being intentional in crafting out the perception of what your business really is, the internet will do it for you. Okay? And it may not be in line, or more likely won't be in line with what your business really is. So there's no other way of getting around this. You need to be intentional about it. You have to have a strategy. And bottom line is you need a partner, all right, that is going to assist you with this. Anyways, I know, Ross, there's a portion of your talk on Tuesday about this as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you kind of want to add to this?
Yeah, I'd say a couple things. So we've been in the review game a long time. That was how this business started, and what was novel about it, 10 years ago, was we were soliciting reviews via text message, and nobody else was really doing that at the time. Okay, 10 years later, that's not necessarily a novel concept, but just to double down, like if you're not asking for the feedback from all your happy customers, you're not going to get it. And so automating that whole process is absolutely what you should do. That will ensure there's an accurate representation of your presence online. So be a driver, don't be a passenger on that one. Ask for the feedback. I think where AI has leveled things up is, so we're talking about kind of two things: your online reputation, yes, but really what that means for you is optimizing your local search presence, in particular on Google. And sure, you do that with a strong star rating, and yes, you do that by generating a consistent monthly volume of reviews from all the folks you're transacting with. But the other piece of it is responding and engaging with that content online. And the answer to that has been, well, I've got someone in house who kind of sort of does it along with everything else they're doing.
The copy and paste guy? Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, copy and paste guy, or you go pay a third party to do it, which means there's people somewhere that are doing it on your behalf, and people are not cheap. And so what has really changed with AI in the past year is AI can respond to all of your reviews on your behalf. And it's very much not copy and paste. It's customized to the content of the review that was left for you. And again, here you go, consistency in getting responses to those reviews very quickly once they're being left by your customers. So there is for sure going to be a difference in search positioning. Everything else being equal, same star rating, same amount of reviews being generated, but who is responding to those reviews? And really what it comes down to is customer engagement, right? Like that's the signal that we're talking about here that you're sending to the search engines, which is like, hey, we are not only asking for the feedback, but we're responding. And yes, we engage with our customers online. And that's really important. And that's where, again, when you talk about how do you now level up your review game, you can leverage AI to apply responses to all those reviews online. You don't need to have someone in-house do it. And you certainly don't need to go contract another human being offsite to do it for you. So that's been, I think, I don't know, just a really nice touch that AI has offered. Like we spent the front end of this conversation talking about conversational AI, and like that is definitely where we're headed. But even just these smaller applications, like use AI to respond to your reviews, quick, easy, does a really, really good job of that. And maybe the only other point I'd make is, like, we were in the business of helping dealers capture reviews, but it was really representative of the experience that happened in the store. And we couldn't make a positive impact on that necessarily, where we can for sure make a big positive impact and help you improve your review quality is, your lead engagement. Like, what is the first touch on that customer that then carries through to the experience in the dealership? Like, we can actually make a pretty material impact on the perception of that experience from folks who haven't done business with you before, which is I think super exciting to be able to do today. And again, that certainly wasn't the case 10 years ago. So
No, and look, and I'm really glad that you brought up the response, right? Because I do this all the time, and folks, if you're out there watching, listening, I guarantee you do this as well, right? It, the review is one. The response to the review for me as a consumer is equally more important,
yeah,
right? Because it tells me a lot more about that company than anything else I need to know, right? Look, are people going to have bad experiences? It happens. I ain't going to make everybody happy, right? How you respond to that tells me so much about your business. All right. There's that is an insight that I only get. And this is why I love reading reviews. I love not only reading the reviews, my favorite part is just reading the response from the company. If it's a copy and paste, wow, I can see you really care about these things.
yeah,
Like when someone's really taking the time to articulate and customize it kind of to that, that says a lot. That means there's a lot of attention to the details. Look, for every operator out there, you know what makes and breaks a deal and what makes and breaks a customer experience. Okay. It's never one big thing. Because if it is, you would have fixed it. Okay. If every review said the bathrooms were horrible, guess what? I guarantee you went and fixed it. Okay. Like, if it was a big thing, you dealt with it. All right. But we all know that experiences are made or broken by little things. All right. And you need to have a partner out there that is focusing on those little things. And one of the biggest things that Podium allows you to do is to stop counting how many leads you have and start counting how many conversations you have. Because through conversations, you're going to bring them into the dealership. Okay. I don't give a crap if you got 1,000 leads or 2,000 leads. I want to know how many conversations you're having and what you and your AI partner is doing to get those people in from an engagement perspective. Right. I know, look, it sounds like I'm beating the drum, and I am, and I should probably stop right there. But you need to come check out Podium. It is going to be a game changer for your business. Real quick, for anybody out there watching and listening, guys, who would maybe like to connect with you before the show, all right, what's the best way to connect with you guys? Ross, I'll start with you, and Billy, ask you the same question.
sure. Yeah. I mean, if you'd like to connect with me directly, Ross at podium.com, super easy to remember. If you also visit our website, podium.com/automotive, very easy to request some time with somebody else on the team as well. We certainly pay close attention to that. So podium.com/automotive, or me personally, it's just Ross at podium.com.
Billy, for you, and how can I just want you to add, Billy, how can people try Jerry before they come to the show as well?
What Ross said nails it. On the website, go to podium.com. You can look kind of at the top, click into like the auto portion of the site, and there's some prompts in there where you can start talking with Jerry. You can text him back and forth, kind of see what he's all about. It's a demo account. It's intentionally kind of vanilla. It captures a good portion of like how Jerry might answer. So I would say use it as a baseline and then come with ideas of, hey, here's the other things I'd want Jerry to do. And we'll talk about it. There's a good chance that he can do all those things.
That's
my email, if anybody wants to reach out, billy.hymas, so it's Billy, .hymas, HY, M as in Mary, A, S as in Sally, at podium.com.
We're going to make sure, guys, we put that in the comments down below so you guys have that. And dude, guys, I encourage you, like, go visit booth 124. Come with a list. Here's the thing, and I know I'm not necessarily talking about just Podium, but I'm talking about NIADA in general, all right? Don't come unprepared, all right? Come prepared, all right? Identify, the little things or the processes that you're just not executing as well as you would like to be, or maybe as well as your team should be, or you're not having that online perception, or the reviews are not in line with your business, right? Come prepared with these questions, with these campaigns, or with these process issues, all right? And the people at Podium, I know I'm going to be there. Just look out for me. I'll be in orange. You come ask me as well. But hey, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I'm so excited. I mean, Vegas is fun. Come on. We're going to have fun in Vegas, aren't we?
Well, Vegas is always a good time, yes.
Happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, guys, thanks so much for taking the time to jam with me today. For everybody out there watching and listening, we look forward to seeing you shortly at NIADA in Las Vegas. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.